Hi, my name's Darren Rend, fishmonger for over 30 years, the last 15 with Asda. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the head off. Now there are several different ways of filleting. I'm going to show you one that I prefer. When taking the head off, I can either do it to my right or my left. The thing I've got to make sure is that that knife is not cutting towards the hand that's holding the fish. So what I'm going to use is that fin just to get my knife in a safe position, and then my hand is holding the body of the fish, and try and get your knife to come around into the back of the fish, so you're actually cutting into that area there. Try not to saw too much and get that knife to be nice and smooth, and you'll get a cleaner cut. Flip him over and just same again. Just position and then bring your hand out of the way. And I want to bring my knife round again into the back of the head. And if I get those two cuts right, you'll notice they cross over. That's the weakest part of the fish. So that should now mean that that head will literally almost fall off with the weight of the body of the fish. And then all I want to do now is just cut through and remove the head and dispose of. Okay, we're going to fillet and we're going to do single fillets. Down the back of the fish is normally the best way of doing the single fillet, so just let your knife glide and sit on top of the bone, and then it's a nice gentle cut, keeping the knife angle just slightly down, and you'll feel it clicking along the bone as it slides down all the way to the tail, and then there's a little ridge, slide over it, knife slides down, and you'll find your knife comes through just beyond that tail fin there. And then I've got a little ridge which I can sit my knife on, and it just slides back to the top and through. And all I've got left now is the rib cage. Now there's nothing to resist, so the knife is very gentle. Let the knife do all the work for you. Nice, smooth, big movements all the way down, full flat and through the tail. And that's the first fillet taken off. On the second side, there's several different ways of filleting. The way I'm going to try and do this is to get your knife going away from your hand as much as possible. So just slide your knife underneath the rib cage there and gently let it slide down the rib cage all the way through, and you'll reach your tail end. As soon as you get to tail, get rid of that fin there. So you've got the body of the fish to hold and release that without losing too much fish. And then I need to turn him all the way around. I'm going to use that little fin there as a guide, and that's where my knife's going to start. And all I'm going to do is a little incision and then slide the knife through. Keep the knife fairly loose but a good grip, and then just let it slide. If your knife catches, you've got the wrong angle, relax and let the knife do all the work for you. Now there's a little ridge there, and that's where I need to go. And all there is some little tiny bones that run on the other side there that are supporting, and my knife is going to click through. So I can hear them breaking all the way to the top. And then all that's left now is that area there, which there's no resistance again. So nice and gentle, and just let the knife glide. You can see the knife moving. I've got a nice angle on it. It's going to glide all the way to the bottom, back to the top again. Doesn't matter how many cuts you take. Nice and gentle, and we're at the point now where I'm going to trim that away. Tail first, turn him around, make sure I'm cutting away from me. And that's your bone taken off completely, and almost no waste. I don't want any bits and pieces left on, so always trimming away from yourself. Okay. And on this side, what I'm going to find is I've got a little bit there from the tail, and then I've got this white covering there. Now that is where the belly's been sitting, so I'll just very gently trim away. Try not to cut big chunks of fish. Let the knife do all the work. It's almost like a little curl as the knife moves the fish to the edge. I'm working nice and gently, not forcing it. The knife's doing all the work for me. I've got one more little cut to do. Okay, so we've got all of that white now moved to the edge. I'm just going to place the knife there, cut to that little fin, and then I do a little semicircle around it, and then cut to the top. And then anything you're not happy with, trim away. So we've got a nice clean fillet, and then simply repeat for the second side, and we've got our two fillets nicely done. Okay, we've got the main body of the fillets off. What a lot of people don't realise is once you've got that main bone out, you've still got what we call the pin bones. You'll find these little bones that run down this area. They're never in the tail. Get the back of your knife and just run it very gently against the grain, and that will make those bones stand proud so you can see them a little bit easier. And then I've got these, and these are basically coming from a caterer, so I've got quite a large area that I'm going to use. Just basically pick the bones out one by one. Very, very laborious, a little bit dull, but if you're going to do something like a salmon en croûte or a salmon stuffed with a cod, what you want is a completely boneless piece of fish. Take your time, don't rush, so you don't get too much damage to this area when you're taking the bones out. So the bones are out, and the last thing I want to go through is skinning. Okay, with skinning, there's a couple of things I always try and give advice on. Number one is, what you want is the fillet to be as close to the edge of the board as possible. That should give you more control over the fish, but also, if you're using a knife that's just in your cupboard, what you'll tend to find is they don't tend to be that long, so I need the knife to be slightly longer than the thickest part of the fish. So the only way I'm going to get that is by having that fish right against the board. If you're skinning, always go from the tail to the top end, because you'll find your knife slides a little bit easier. And also I'm going to find that I don't lose too much fish when I make that initial cut. And I'm going to have a good grip on the skin in order to get that knife going away from me as well. Never skin towards yourself and never skin with the fish down on the board. Okay, so we're against the side, going to the tail. Okay, just make a nice little cut. Don't force it, nice and gentle to start with. And all I'm looking to do is get my knife to sit against the skin. So that is what you're looking for. You start to get that little bit of silver showing through. That, if you get that silver on the fish, shows that you're right against the skin. If you're not happy with how you're skinning, just come back a little bit, angle your knife slightly steeper, and start to cut again, and you'll notice that I'm getting that silver right across the fillet now. Once you're happy, get a good grip, try and keep your thumb just behind the back of the knife, and then let your knife cut and glide at the same time, so we're getting right against the skin all the time. And every time your knife goes a little bit further up and you start to lose control, just re-grip, and the thumb just touches the back of the knife. Another 3 cuts, fold over, thumb just at the back of the knife, fold over, thumb just at the back of the knife. I'm nearly at the end. Now take your time when you get to the end, press down a little bit harder, and just let that knife slide through, and hopefully I've got a nice piece of fish there that's completely skinned. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is portion size and the different cuts of the fish. If you do end up trimming, in order to get that nice thick fillet from the centre, don't forget that your tails are perfect for doing little nice little meal ideas. That would be nice as a pan fry. I could even centre down and portion and do something like a cubed dish there, so I could do a stir fry. And then your top ends, if you're going to do a pate or anything like that, that tends to be the best area to use for that. Standard size is usually around about 175 to 220 grams, depending on your own taste, and you're looking roughly that sort of size as a standard portion to serve. Now you know what to do with the whole salmon, how to get it prepared, and some great ideas on getting it ready for the table as well. Enjoy.